The galaxy was loud that morning. Not with sounds, space had no air for that, but with signals, warnings, and urgent transmissions. Across dozens of star systems, alien news channels were reporting the same thing. The Varkos' Invincible fleet was moving toward Earth. For over 2,000 years, the Varkos had been the nightmare of the stars. They were not the largest empire. They were not the richest. But they were the most feared. No planet they targeted had ever survived. No ship had ever beaten them. No army had ever stood against them and lived to tell the tale. When the Varkos came, the smart choice was always surrender. Their ships were huge, black silhouettes that could blot out the sun when they arrived. Their weapons could turn oceans into steam and crush continents with a single strike. In every language of the galaxy, there was one name for them, the Unstoppable Death. And now, they were coming to Earth. In the capital of the Varkos Empire. The fleet's supreme commander, Varkos, stood on the bridge of his flagship. It was a ship the size of a small moon, its hull bristling with weapon turrets and shield emitters. Varkos's 4 golden eyes glowed as he studied the holographic map. One small blue and green world blinked in the center of the display. Earth. Another primitive world. One of his lieutenants said, laughing, "It will fall in minutes." Varkos's lip curled. Perhaps, but this one has been stubborn, refused trade offers, ignored demands, destroyed our probes. They think they are safe. He leaned closer to the display, his long claws tapping the surface. Let us teach them fear. With a single order, the fleet shifted course. Thousands of warships aligned their drives, and the Black Armada jumped to faster-than-light speed. Across the galaxy, alien civilizations watched in real time. Some tuned in out of morbid curiosity, others to cheer for the destruction of the arrogant humans, and a few to pray silently that Earth might do the impossible. On a peaceful mining colony in the Zothra system, a group of workers huddled around a flickering holoscreen. "Do you think they'll fight?" one asked. "No one fights the Varkos," another replied. "It's suicide. They say humans are different," an older worker muttered. "I heard they destroyed a pirate fleet once with just a handful of ships," the others laughed. "Stories, nothing more. They're finished." Back on Earth, the skies were calm. Cities went about their business. People walked in the streets, drove cars, shopped for food. But above them, in the blackness of space, Earth's defense network had already detected the incoming fleet. Silent alarms echoed in underground command centers. Radar operators stared at glowing red symbols multiplying on their screens. In one of the deepest facilities beneath the Rocky Mountains, the commander of Earth Space Defense, Admiral Rachel Kwan, stood before a massive wall of holographic displays. "How many ships?" she asked. "Counting now." "Over 1,000 confirmed," replied a young officer. Kwan's jaw tightened. "The Varkos?" "Yes, ma'am. No doubt about it." "Flagship detected." She took a slow breath. Around her, dozens of officers typed commands, relaying orders to defense satellites, planetary shields, and orbital gun platforms. "Send word to the Titan," she said. Far above Earth, in a dry dock hidden behind the shadow of the moon, the EHS Titan was waiting. It was a ship unlike any other in human history, 3 kilometers long, shaped like a spear, with layered armor that shimmered faintly in the dark. It was the result of 20 years of secret construction, hidden from every alien eye. Its captain, Elias Drake, was a tall, weathered man in his 50s, with sharp eyes that had seen more battles than most soldiers lived through. When the call from Admiral Kwan came, he didn't hesitate. "Crew to stations," he ordered. The Titan came alive. Engines powered up, glowing with a strange blue light. Weapons ports opened along the hull. Shield emitters hummed. Deep inside, the ship's a calm, almost human voice said, "All systems optimal, ready for combat." Within hours, the Varkos fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system. Their massive warships formed a black wall stretching across. The void-alien broadcasts flooded the networks. Cameras on hidden observation ships captured the scene, the Invincible fleet preparing to crush another target. In the command deck of his flagship, Varkos Tor studied Earth's defenses. There was nothing impressive, a few orbital guns, some small defense ships, and then one large vessel far too large for a primitive species. Varkos narrowed his eyes. "What is that?" "A battleship, perhaps," his science officer said. Dismissively, "It cannot stand against us." Varkos bared his teeth. "We shall see." The Titan moved forward, leaving the moon's shadow. Its armor reflected the distant sunlight, and for the first time, the galaxy saw Earth's answer to the Varkos threat. It was just one ship. Every alien watching expected it to die quickly. In the Zathra mining colony, the workers shook their heads. One ship against 1,000? They're insane. In the council chambers of the Cathari Republic, alien ambassadors whispered, "Brave, but foolish." Even in the Varkos fleet, some officers laughed. "They send one ship to fight us? Do they want to amuse us before we destroy them?" But the Titan's crew didn't laugh. They worked with quiet precision, hands moving over controls, eyes fixed on their captain. Shields at full. The weapons officer reported, "Target nearest cruisers," Drake said. The first shots came from the Varkos, blinding beams of energy that could cut through mountains. They slammed into the Titan's shields and stopped. The glow of the shields brightened, then faded. The hull remained untouched. On the Varkos flagship, silence fell. "Impossible," one officer whispered. "No shield can block our primary weapons." Varkos Tor's golden eyes narrowed. "Fire again." All ships. Dozens of Varkos warships opened fire, their combined power enough to destroy a small moon. The Titan's shields flared brighter, then dimmed again, unharmed. Inside the Titan, the ice-calm voice spoke. Enemy fire absorbed. Energy reserves increased by 12%. Drake allowed himself a thin smile. "Good. Return fire." From the Titan's spear-shaped bow, Invisible, projectiles streaked into the void. They moved faster than light, faster than sensors could track. The first Varkos cruiser exploded instantly, its hull torn apart before it even realized it had been hit. A second cruiser followed, then a third. Panic rippled through the Varkos formation. "Their weapons are silent," one officer stammered. "We cannot detect them until impact." Varkos' voice was cold. "Surround them. Cut off escape. Crush them." The Varkos fleet moved in, forming a sphere around the Titan. The black ships glowed with weapon fire, trying to smother their lone opponent. The Titan's hull danced with light as it spun, evading some shots and absorbing others. Its crew remained calm, every movement deliberate. On alien worlds watching the broadcast, silence fell. No one had ever seen the Invincible fleet fail to overwhelm an enemy in the first minutes of battle. Then the Titan's comms opened. A single message went out, transmitted to every ship, every world watching. The voice of Captain Elias Drake filled the airwaves. To the Varkos commander, "This is your first and last warning. Leave now, or you will not leave at all." Gasps spread across the galaxy. No one spoke to the Varkos like that. Varkos Tor leaned forward, his claws digging into the arm of his command chair. "Human," he growled, "you will beg for mercy before I am done with you." Drake's reply was calm, almost casual. "We'll see." The battle wasn't over. It had only just begun, and somewhere in the dark, beyond the reach of either fleet, other civilizations were watching and wondering if, for the first time in history, the Invincible fleet might finally fall. The voice of Captain Elias Drake still echoed through the comm systems of 1,000 ships. "Leave now, or you will not leave at all." Across the galaxy, alien leaders and civilians stared at the transmission in disbelief. No one had ever spoken to the Varkos like that and lived for more than a few minutes afterward. On the Varkos flagship, Eternal Dominance, Supreme Commander Varkos Tor's 4 golden eyes blazed with fury. His voice was cold, but the crew could hear the rage under the surface. "Bring the human ship to its knees," he ordered. No mercy. The Varkos fleet obeyed instantly. The trap closes from every direction. Warships advanced on the Titan, their engines burning with crimson light. Massive carriers released swarms of attack drones, small, fast, and armed with explosive charges powerful enough to tear through planetary shields. On the Titan's bridge, the weapons officer, Lieutenant Carter, watched as the tactical display filled with red markers. "They're surrounding us, Captain. No way out." Drake didn't even glance at him. His eyes were fixed on the main screen, watching the black wall of enemy ships close in. "Good," he said quietly. "I wasn't planning on leaving." The crew smiled grimly. They had heard that tone before. It meant the captain already had a plan. The swarm attacks, the first wave of Varkos drones, hit fast. They moved like angry insects, zigzagging through space, firing streams of plasma at the Titan's shields. Dozens exploded against the shimmering barrier, but more kept coming. "Shields holding," reported the AI. "Absorbing enemy plasma. Energy reserves increased by 8%. The drones were too many to target with traditional weapons. They darted in close, trying to overload the shields by sheer numbers. "Switch to null wave emitters," Drake ordered. Around the Titan's hull, invisible waves of energy rippled outward. One by one, the drones stopped moving, their engines silent, their weapons offline, and drifted into the void like dead metal insects. From the Varkos fleet, astonished voices called out, "Our drones! They just died!" The first kill with the swarm gone, the Titan shifted to offense. Drake pointed to the nearest Varkos destroyer on the display. "Target that one," he said. "Full rail battery." There was no flash of light, no roar of missiles. Just the quiet hum of the Titan's advanced railguns firing hypervelocity slugs. The projectiles moved faster than any sensor could track, punching through the destroyer's shields and tearing the ship apart from bow to stern. The explosion was silent in the vacuum, but on the Varkos flagship, it was like thunder. They destroyed a destroyer with one shot," a sensor officer whispered. Varkos's claws tapped the arm of his chair. "Then they will need to fire many more. Let us see if they can keep it up." The dance of death, the Varkos fleet moved in tighter. Heavy cruisers formed a ring around the Titan, their guns glowing with charged energy. "Multiple lock-ons," Carter reported. "All heavy weapons. Ready point defense." Drake replied calmly. The cruisers fired in perfect unison, a deadly web of energy beams converging on the Titan's position. But the human ship moved. Not slowly, not like a massive vessel should, but with sudden precise bursts of acceleration. It slipped between the beams, twisting through the attack like a fighter jet instead of a warship 3 kilometers long. On alien worlds watching the broadcast, jaws dropped. "It's dancing," one commentator whispered. The Titan spun and fired back, every shot striking true. Another cruiser erupted into fragments. The galaxy takes notice far away. In the neutral Elof Confederation, the High Council watched the battle in silence. The room was filled with delegates from dozens of worlds, all staring at the live feed. "They're not supposed to win," one said. "Maybe they won't," another replied. "But they're making the Varkos bleed. No one has done that in centuries." A third delegate, older and wiser, leaned forward. "Mark my words. If the humans survive today, the balance of the galaxy will change forever." The flagship joins the fight. Varkos Tor had seen enough. The humans had destroyed 2 cruisers and crippled another. That was more damage than most full fleets managed. Against him, "Bring us forward," he ordered. The Eternal Dominance surged ahead, dwarfing every other ship. Its main cannon, a weapon capable of vaporizing a mountain from orbit, began to charge. On the Titan, alarms rang. "Flagship weapons charging," the AI warned. Estimated firing solution, 30 seconds. Drake's eyes narrowed. Time to test the new toy. The hidden weapon in the Titan's forward section, deep behind armored layers, a chamber opened. Inside, a sphere of shifting energy began to spin faster and faster. "Quantum destabilizer online," reported the chief engineer. The crew knew what it could do, but no one outside the Titan had ever seen it used. "Target their main cannon," Drake ordered. The sphere pulsed once, and then vanished. A second later, on the Varkos flagship, chaos erupted. The charging sequence of the main cannon collapsed, feedback frying control systems. Sparks exploded across the bridge. "What happened?" Varkos roared. They disrupted the weapon at the quantum level," his science officer stammered. "We'll need hours to repair it." The first blood Drake didn't waste the opportunity. "All batteries, target the flagship's port side. Fire for effect." The Titan unleashed a storm of invisible projectiles, each one hitting with pinpoint precision. Armor shattered, shield generators overloaded, and entire sections of the flagship went dark. For the first time in living memory, the Invincible fleet's flagship took serious damage in battle. Across the galaxy, a wave of shock spread. On distant worlds, crowds gathered in streets and plazas, staring at giant screens as the impossible happened before their eyes. On the Zathra mining colony, the old worker who had spoken of human courage whispered, "They've drawn first blood." The retaliation, but the Varkos were not finished. Varkos' rage burned hotter than a star. "All ships, concentrate fire on the human vessel. I want it turned to dust." Hundreds of warships obeyed, unleashing every weapon they had. The space around the Titan became a storm of destruction. Beams, missiles, kinetic rounds, plasma bursts, all converging on one point. Inside the Titan, the crew braced as the shields flared, dimmed, and flared again. "Shields at 72%, the AI reported. "Still absorbing energy, but rate of fire is extreme." Drake's voice was steady. "Hold the line. They can't keep this up forever." A strange shift as the battle raged. Carter frowned at his console. "Captain, their fire is losing power." Drake glanced over. "Explain." "The more they hit us, the weaker their shots get. It's like their weapons are draining themselves." The captain allowed himself a thin smile. "Exactly as designed. The Titan's shields didn't just absorb energy, they converted it, redirecting a portion to disrupt enemy targeting and drain weapon efficiency. The longer the battle lasted, the weaker the Varkos became. A dangerous opportunity." "Captain," the I said, "I've detected a command relay vessel on the far side of the formation. Destroying it will cripple their fleet coordination." Drake looked at the tactical map. The relay ship was heavily guarded. Reaching it would mean flying straight through the thickest part of the Varkos lines. He smiled faintly. "Plot the course." Through the fire, the Titan surged forward, pushing straight into the enemy. Varkos warships tried to block its path, but each one was met with precise, brutal fire. One fell, then another, then a third, on the bridge of the flagship. Varkos realized what was happening. "Protect the relay ship," he shouted, but it was too late. The Titan broke through the last line of defense. "Fire," Drake ordered. A single railgun slug, accelerated to impossible speed, slammed into the relay ship. It passed through cleanly, and a moment later, the vessel erupted in a silent explosion. Across the Varkos fleet, chaos spread. Without the relay ship, their formations fell apart. Their targeting became sloppy, and ships began to drift out of position. The silence after, for the first time since the battle began, the Varkos fleet hesitated. Ships pulled back, captains unsure. of their next move without central command guidance. On the Titan, Carter exhaled. They're falling back, at least for now. Drake didn't relax. They're regrouping. And when they come back, it'll be with something bigger. He turned to the comm officer. Send a message to Admiral Kwan. Tell her we've drawn blood. But this fight is far from over. The battlefield was quiet for a moment. The silence felt strange after hours of relentless fire, like the pause between two heartbeats. Both sides floated in the black void, the wrecks of destroyed ships drifting like broken bones in a graveyard. The bridge of the EHS Titan, Captain Elias Drake studied the tactical map. The Varkos ships had pulled back just beyond weapons range. They were regrouping, waiting. Lieutenant Carter broke the silence. Sir, they're not retreating. They're planning something. Drake's voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp. Of course they are. The Varkos never stop until their enemy is ash. On the Varkos flagship, Supreme Commander Varkos Tor stood in a darkened chamber deep within the Eternal Dominance. The air here was colder, heavier, filled with a faint hum of restrained power. Before him stood a massive containment unit, its surface covered in alien glyphs that warned of death, destruction, and forbidden technology. A nervous technician knelt beside the controls. Commander, the Annihilation Lance has never been tested in battle. It could. Varkos's four golden eyes glared down. It will work. And when it fires, the human ship will cease to exist. The technician bowed. Low, yes, Commander. Varkos turned away, his voice low and dangerous. Begin charging. The weapon wakes on the outside of the flagship. A massive section of armor slid apart, revealing the Annihilation Lance. It was not like any normal weapon, no barrel, no obvious cannon. Instead, it was a long crystal spine pulsing with black and red light, like the beating heart of some ancient monster. The energy reading spiked instantly. On the Titan, the IS voice cut through the quiet. Warning, extreme energy build detected on enemy flagship. This output is unprecedented. Carter stared at his console. It's off the charts, sir. If they fire that at us, they won't get the chance, Drake said. A dangerous plan. Drake called up the crew's senior officers on the bridge display. We've got one chance to stop whatever they're charging. That means getting close enough to put a rail slug through their main hull. That's suicide, Carter said. Not if we move faster than they expect. Drake tapped a control, and the holographic battle map shifted. We'll thread the gap between their forward carriers and gunships. If we hit full acceleration, we can reach the flagship's blind spot before they realize what we're doing. The charge begins. The Titan's engines flared to life, burning a brilliant blue. The battleship surged forward, slicing through the void at impossible speed. The Varkos fleet reacted instantly. Carriers launched more attack drones. Heavy cruisers moved to intercept, and walls of plasma fire filled the space ahead. The Titan twisted through the storm. Shields flashed as they absorbed hits, feeding the ship more power. Inside, the crew worked with calm precision, voices steady even as the ship shook from near misses. The Lance nears completion on the Varkos flagship. The Annihilation Lance's core was almost fully charged. The black and red crystal pulsed faster, its energy curling outward like dark lightning. The technician's voice trembled. 95%, Commander. Ready to fire in 30 seconds. Varkos's grin showed sharp, predator's teeth. Hold steady, let them come closer. I want them to see their death. Breaking through, the Titan blasted through the last line of interceptors. 2 gunships exploded under railgun fire, clearing a narrow path straight toward the flagship. 20 seconds until Lance fires. The AI warned. Helm, line up the shot, Drake ordered. The Titan's spear-shaped bow aimed directly at the flagship's port side, just below the Lance's housing. The crew could feel the tension. One wrong move, and the battle would be over. The shot, 10 seconds, the AI counted. Drake's eyes never left the target. Fire, the Titans. Primary rail battery roared, silently in space, but with a force that rattled the entire ship. The slug traveled faster than light itself, a tiny, invisible missile of solid metal and kinetic energy. It struck the flagship exactly where Drake had aimed. The impact was instant and catastrophic. Armor shattered, internal systems ruptured, and a shockwave ripped through the Lance's housing. The charging sequence collapsed in a blinding flash. The Lance's death, the Annihilation Lance screamed, not in sound, but in pure energy. Its crystal core shattered, unleashing all the stored power in a single, uncontrolled burst. The explosion was like a star being born and dying at the same time. A massive section of the flagship side was simply gone, vaporized into nothing. The blast knocked nearby Varkos ships spinning like toys in a storm. On alien worlds watching the feed, there was stunned silence. Billions of beings saw the same thing. The most feared weapon in the galaxy, destroyed before it ever fired. Shock across the galaxy in the Cathari Republic. A diplomat dropped his glass. They destroyed a flagship weapon with one shot. On the mining colony in Zathra, the old worker whispered, "I told you. The humans are different." Even in the farthest corners of space, pirates, traders, and soldiers heard the news. The words spread like fire. The Invincible fleet has been wounded. The flagship bleeds on the bridge of the eternal dominance. Chaos reigned. Fires burned, systems failed, and half the crew lay injured. Varkos Tor pulled himself to his feet, his face twisted with rage and disbelief. How did they? The sensor officer interrupted. "Commander, the Titan is still advancing." "What?" Varkos turned, and there it was, the human ship, still charging forward. Weapons glowing. The second strike. Drake's voice was calm, almost cold. "They're hurt. Let's finish the job." The Titan's guns fired again, pounding the flagship's weakened armor. Massive gashes tore through its hull. Varkos's command ship, a symbol of fear for centuries, was being dismantled piece by piece. The retreat, finally. Varkos gave the order no one believed he would ever speak. "All ships, fall back." The surviving Varkos vessels began to withdraw, engines flaring as they jumped to safer positions beyond the system's edge. The Titan did not chase. Drake stood on the bridge, watching the enemy fade into the distance. He knew they weren't gone, just regrouping. The message before the last Varkos ship vanished from sensors. The Titan transmitted a message across all channels. Drake's voice was steady and clear. "This is Captain Elias Drake of the EHS Titan. The age of fear is over. Remember this day." The galaxy reacts in the hours that followed. The footage of the battle spread everywhere. People replayed the moment of the Lance's destruction again and again. It became known as the shot heard across the galaxy. For the first time, whispers of hope spread in places long ruled by fear. If the humans could stand against the Varkos, maybe others could too. The battle had paused, but the war was far from over. High above Earth, the EHS Titan drifted in silent space. Its hull bore fresh scars from the recent fight, but it stood proud, unbroken, undefeated. Captain Elias Drake sat alone in his quarters, staring out at the stars. His mind was heavy. The Invincible fleet had lost much, but the Varkos were not beaten yet. Something deeper was stirring. The hidden story years before the first Varkos ships appeared near Earth. A secret project began. Far from public eyes, in the deepest parts of Earth's orbital shipyards, engineers and scientists worked day and night. They were building the Titan, not just a warship, but a weapon of hope. Drake had only recently taken command, but he knew the ship's secrets well. He rose and walked toward the command deck, where his senior officers waited. "A meeting of minds, Captain," Lieutenant Carter greeted him. "We've recovered strange signals from the last battle. Alien tech we didn't expect." Drake nodded. "Bring the analysts. I want to know everything." Within minutes, the science team arrived. Among them was Dr. Leila Marino, the ship's chief scientist. Her sharp eyes shone with curiosity. "We believe that Titan's core systems include technology from an ancient alien race," she explained. "Recovered from wreckage found hidden in the Kuiper Belt decades ago." The crew leaned closer. "This tech is why our shields absorb energy," she continued, "and why our weapons move faster than their sensors can detect." The unknown legacy. Drake frowned. Who were these aliens? "No one knows for sure," Dr. Marino admitted. "They vanished thousands of years ago, but their ships left traces scattered through the solar system. We've been lucky to recover just a few pieces." She pointed to a hologram of the Titan's core. The ship's AI was built using their designs. "It can learn and adapt during battle, making the Titan more powerful every moment." Drake nodded slowly. "That explains the way we fought today." A warning from the past. Suddenly, the ship's AI interrupted. "Captain, I have detected an encrypted transmission originating from deep space." Drake's eyes narrowed. "From where?" "Coordinates indicate the outer rim of the galaxy, beyond the Varkos systems." The room grew quiet. "Play it," Drake ordered. Static filled the room, then a voice spoke. It was old, mechanical, but clear. "Warning. The Invincible fleet is only the beginning. A shadow rises beyond their reach. Prepare for the coming storm." The message ended. Fear and hope. The crew exchanged worried looks. Drake stood tall. "If something worse than the Varkos is coming, then we must be ready." Dr. Marino added, "The technology inside the Titan may not be enough." Carter asked, "Then what can we do?" Drake looked at Earth, shining blue beneath them. "We fight. And we find allies." A sudden alert. Suddenly, alarms blared. "Incoming ships detected," shouted the radar officer. The Titan's bridge tensed as unknown vessels appeared on sensors. Drake ordered, "Raise shields, prepare weapons." The new ships emerged from hyperspace, a fleet of unknown design, sleek and fast. Their markings were unfamiliar. A fragile memento voice crackled over the comms, speaking in broken English. "We come in peace. We are observers. We seek alliance." Drake studied the message. "Who are you?" The reply was simple. "We are the Valari. We have watched your fight. We offer help." An unexpected chance of Valari ships moved closer, their lights gentle and blue. Drake nodded to his crew. "Open channels. Let's hear what they have to say." The Valari commander appeared on the main screen, a tall figure with calm eyes. "Our galaxy faces a threat beyond the Varkos," the Valari said. "We know of their weapons and their weaknesses. Together we can stop what comes next." Building trust. Drake wasn't sure. Trust was hard in war, but the Valari showed images, maps of dark fleets moving quietly in the shadows, weapons capable of destroying entire systems, and warnings of a coming war far worse than the current one. Dr. Marino whispered, "We can't fight this alone." Drake nodded. "Then we prepare, we train, and we build our strength." Secrets revealed. The Valari shared knowledge of ancient weapons, ways to shield entire planets, and technologies that could hide fleets from enemy sensors. Titan's crew listened carefully. This was the help they needed, but it came with risk. The galaxy's turning point. As the Valari fleet stayed near Earth, news of their arrival spread. Across the galaxy, other species took notice. Some were curious, some were afraid. All wondered what the future would bring. Captains resolved back on the Titan. Captain Drake looked at the stars again. "This is not just about Earth anymore," he said quietly. "It is about the survival of all life." Endhook far away, hidden deep in the shadows of the galaxy, a dark figure watched the reports with cold eyes. The future was coming, and it would change everything. The calm before the storm had vanished. The Valari fleet, new allies of Earth, gathered in the outer reaches of the solar system. Their sleek ships stood side by side with human vessels, forming a growing shield against the darkness. Captain Elias Drake stood on the bridge of the EHS Titan, watching the stars. His ship was repaired and stronger than before. But the danger was closer now. The Varkos were regrouping, and a new enemy loomed beyond. The warning sensors aboard the Titan picked up signals deep in space. A massive fleet was warping into the sector. Drake's voice was steady but firm. "Prepare for battle. This is what we train for." The crew worked quickly, running systems checks and loading weapons. The AI announced, "Incoming fleet detected. Estimated size: over 5,000 warships." 5,000, even the Titan, mighty and strong, could not face such a number alone. The arrival the enemy fleet emerged from hyperspace, ships bigger and more powerful than anything the galaxy had seen. Their hulls were dark and jagged, pulsing with unknown energy. The symbols on their flags were ancient and terrifying. "They are called the Drakari," Dr. Leela Marino explained. "A race thought extinct, but they have returned." The battle begins. The Drakari fleet moved fast, blocking out stars with their numbers. Valari and human ships launched missiles and fired energy beams. Explosions lit the void. The Titan took the lead, charging into the heart of the enemy formation. Clashing Titans. Captain Drake gripped the command chair as the Titan dodged massive plasma blasts. His weapons fired in precise bursts, striking Drakari cruisers and fighters. Shields holding at 85%, the AI reported. Suddenly, a Drakari warship, the size of a small moon, fired a devastating blast. The Titan shook violently. "Shields critical." Carter yelled. A desperate move. Drake made a bold decision. Full power to engines, evasive maneuvers. Delta 5. The Titan twisted and spun through enemy fire like a dancer. "Ready the quantum destabilizer," Drake ordered. The crew tensed, knowing the weapon's power could change the battle. Breaking the line, Titan fired the quantum destabilizer at the largest Drakari warship. The energy sphere pulsed and expanded rapidly. The enemy ship's shields faltered, and the hull cracked. Warship exploded, sending shockwaves through the fleet. The tide turns. Inspired by the Titan's success, Valari and human forces pressed their attack. Drakari ships fell in numbers, some retreating under heavy fire. But the enemy was not finished. New threat sensors detected a dark shadow moving through the battlefield. A massive Drakari dreadnought appeared, its weapons charged and ready. Drake's heart raced. "This is it," he said. "Prepare for everything." Final clash. The Titan faced the dreadnought in a brutal fight. Energy beams clashed, shaking both ships. Explosions rocked the bridge. Crew members held their positions, focused and determined. Victory and loss after a long battle. The Titan's weapons broke through the dreadnought's shields. The enemy ship exploded in a fireball, but the Titan had suffered heavy damage. Alarms blared as systems failed. Aftermath: the enemy fleet retreated, leaving behind smoke and silence. Drake looked at his wounded ship. "We won today," he said softly. "But the war is far from over." End hook. Far beyond the stars, a hidden command center flickered to life. A cold voice spoke. "The humans and their allies grow stronger. Send the final weapon." The screen showed a planet-sized machine, ready to change the fate of the galaxy. The battle had ended, but the war had reached a new level. The Drakari fleet had retreated, battered but not broken. Earth's allies gathered their forces and repaired their ships, preparing for the fight ahead. But far away, hidden in the darkest corners of the galaxy, a terrible weapon was waking. The silent threat on a remote, dead world, an enormous machine stirred to life. It was a planet-sized weapon, built long ago by a forgotten race. This machine had waited for centuries, silent and still. Now, its dark core began to hum. A message of doom. Back on the Titan, Captain Elias Drake received a secret transmission. Voice was cold and calm. "We are the architects. You have delayed the inevitable, humans. The galaxy will fall silent. Drake clenched his fists. Preparing for the final battle, Drake gathered his crew. We face a weapon unlike anything before. It can destroy entire star systems in moments. Lieutenant Carter spoke up. How do we fight something that big? Doctor. Leela Marino answered. We need to strike at its core. But it will not be easy. The Alliance grows. The Valari and other alien allies sent ships and technology to help. Together, they formed a fleet larger than any before. Drake stood on the Titans. Bridge, looking at the combined forces. This is our last chance. The approach. The massive weapon lay in the heart of a dark star cluster. The fleet moved slowly, careful of traps and ambushes. Every moment, the tension grew. The attack begins. The weapon fired first, a blast that turned nearby stars black. The fleet shook but held. Drake ordered all ships to return fire. The battle was fierce. Inside the machine, Drake led a special strike team aboard the weapon. They moved through corridors filled with alien tech and dangers. Every step was a fight for survival. Core at the heart of the weapon was a glowing crystal, pulsing with dark energy. Drake and his team planted explosives, hoping to destroy it. Escape an explosion. The team rushed back as the weapon began to collapse. They barely escaped before the weapon exploded in a blinding light. Victory and loss. The galaxy was saved for now, but many ships were lost, and many lives sacrificed. Drake looked at the stars, knowing the fight had changed everyone. A new dawn with the weapon destroyed. The galaxy slowly returned to peace. Earth's people and their allies began rebuilding. Drake knew more challenges would come, but for the first time in a long time, hope was alive. Final words as the stars shone brightly again. Captain Drake spoke to his crew. This was not just a battle of ships. It was a battle for our future. The galaxy was silent no more.